Right, this is a Tune Mag170 hub in bits. These Tune Mag170 hubs are notorious for having a creaking problem. Everyone I know who's got one, including myself, has had this creaking problem happen. If you own one, you'll know what I'm talking about. When I got my first Tune Mag170 and it started creaking, I contacted the people I bought it from, which was a shop in the UK called Posh Bikes. If any of you are considering using these guys, do not use them. They are the shittest bike shop ever, with the worst service I've ever experienced in any situation. When my first Tune hub started clicking and creaking as I was pedaling, I contacted them and they just fobbed me off and just sort of talked around the subject and then just stopped replying to emails. Contacting Tune themselves, they've offered no solution and they've not said what actually causes the creaking problem. I contacted Fairwheel Bikes and the guy there said, just take it apart, re-lube it, put it back together. That fixed the problem for about half an hour and then the creaking started again. He didn't actually say what was causing the creaking. His response was just to suggest a fix that might work. At no point did he say what actually was causing the problem. Now, when something's creaking on your bike, right, it's always when two things are grinding or writhing together. That's what creaking is, okay? So something in this hub system is grinding or writhing together, all right? But at no point during any of the emails to Tune, to Fairwheel Bikes, to any of the people who sell these hubs, has anyone ever actually said categorically which two parts are grinding together to cause this clicking. No one has ever said. I suspect because no one has a fucking clue what it is, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do everyone's work for them and I'm going to find out once and for all which two parts are grinding together. And I'm going to document this. I'm going to document my process of investigation in a series of videos for you to look at. Hopefully we can find the cause, address that, and fix this problem once and for all. If these Tune hubs don't click and creak, they would be absolutely brilliant. I've said that before. So let's talk about what we know so far. Now, generally, when two metal parts are writhing and grinding together to cause a clicking, there will be indications of wear. If one of the surfaces or both of the surfaces that is rubbing together has paint on them or anodizing on them, then this anodizing or paint will be scratched. So with this in mind, we can look at what we've got here and we can work out what it isn't, or where things are not touching and not grinding together. First of all, let's look at the hub shell. Now in here, this rear surface here has no indication of wear at all. Nothing. Okay? So the clicking and creaking is not these pulls rubbing against or grinding against this rear surface. It's not that. Looking at the free body unit, this surface here, which goes into the hub shell, this has no indication of wear at all. This little mark here is, I scratched this myself by accident. There's nothing on here with any signs of wear, okay? So this surface is not grinding against anything inside here, okay? So it's not that. On the axle, there are signs of wear where the bearing inner race sits, but there's nothing really that indicates that it's been writhing around. That looks like it's just been held in position and pressed down. I'm not ruling this out, but what I'm going to say at the moment is, let's not think it's that yet, all right? So those are all the things that it's not going to be, I think, at the moment. Now let's look at the evidence of things that it could be. Now the first thing I noticed was on the end of the axle here, there's signs of some kind of scratching here. Some sort of scratchy wear. Now that is where the end cap goes on. This is the drive side end cap, and inside this, there's nothing really that shows any signs of this moving around excessively. I don't really think this is sort of spinning round on the axle end. However, this sign of scratching here definitely could be something, so that's something to consider. These little marks here are where I have to knock it out with an extender rod. So that's me who's done that. The next thing I noticed that had some wear was here, and this is the case on each three of these areas. Now this is where the pull sits in and moves in and out when it's moving around the ratchet. When it's in position, during its normal movement, it's actually kind of touching. And this is the case, like I say, on all three. So this could be something related to this, not related to wear, but just the general design. Where the pull sits in is actually countersunk down in here. However, the pull itself has no extended bottom. So this countersinking in here doesn't really do anything. So the pull is just sitting all the way down and pressing onto this face here of the free body unit. Engineers, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it would have been better to actually have an extended section on the bottom of this pull, which would sit into this countersunk section here, which would then elevate this pull away from the surface that it's actually scratching on, causing this wear. So that might be something. Next thing I noticed, this drive ring, which usually sits all the way up to here, there's kind of evidence of sort of wear here. And also on the ring itself, there seems to be some sort of scratching around here. So again, that could be something. The pulls themselves, they kind of wear in a weird way. Like the wear happens from here down, but the very edge seems to not wear, which says to me that they're not sitting in to the tooth ring fully by design, by a design mistake. So again, that could be something. All right, something to investigate. Another thing, this is the drive side end cap, and you can see the wear marks on here where it sits into the dropout. But then if we compare it to the non-drive side, the non-drive side has no wear. So that might be moving around maybe, which is connected to this wear. I mean, it could be. So these are all the things I've noticed so far, which could be causing this creaking and clicking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build this into a wheel. I've got the spokes ordered, so I'll have to wait a few days for those. I've got a rim as well. So I'll build this into a wheel, and then I'm going to start putting anti-seize on the different parts which have the wear on them. I'll put anti-seize on here. I'll put some sort of lube, or I might even file this down, this worn out part, and see if the clicking continues. If one of these things stops it, then that's what's causing it. If not, then I'm going to ask you all to sort of help me in a sort of open source collaborative brainstorming session, and we can see if we can get to the bottom of this thing, because it is really annoying. And actually, I do like this hub a lot. If we can find out what is causing this clicking and creaking and then fix it, that'd be fantastic. And then, once and for all, everyone will know what the problem is and can deal with it. And then we'll be heroes forever. So I'll put this together, and then in the next video, once I've been for a ride on it, I'll give you feedback on what's happened, and then we can move on from there. All right, cheers.